Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. This is Decoding with Cody. And so what a crazy few days it's been already in this new year. And in this decode, it's going to be all about a timeline of blackout predictive programming. Okay, on my channel, since I started my channel in February this year, I've done a lot of videos on the symbolism that they've been putting in everything that has to do with a big blackout that's coming. And there's a lot of different things I could say here, but in this video I'm going to try to narrow it down to a lot of the big clues that they've put in the media, okay? And what's interesting about 2023 is it has started with the number 85, okay? And here at the top, you guys can see numbers to know in this decode. So I have 58, 85, 185, and 242. So those are the main numbers that I want you guys to really have in your heads. There's going to be a few other numbers in here, but I really want to just make sure that you guys are aware of these numbers. And as you can see, in the first slide here, I have two number 85s. The first number 85 is literally the kicker who was kicking a kick at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Day. Like literally the first seconds of the year had this guy everyone's attention on number 85. And now everyone knows, and I've made a few videos about this, been getting a lot of interaction. Thank you guys, all the new subscribers. But notice that number 85 Higgins is the one who knocked out Damar Hamlin from the game. So what are the chances? And again, guys, both of these players, 85s, played for Ohio. Okay? Ohio State and Cincinnati. They both wear 85. One of them brings in the new year with a kick that he misses horribly. And then number 85 on the Bengals causes a horrible injury. You see what I mean? Two horrible scenarios that started with the number 85. And I'm going to show you in this decode why the 85, the reflection of the 85 is the 58, and also the 185, which is kind of like a hierarchy, which is the 85 with the 1 in front of it. Okay, so let me just show you guys how all this ties together. First, I'm going to lay out the timelines of the predictive programming, but the first thing I want to mention is why I believe the number 85 started the year so ominously. Okay? If you guys are not familiar with this event, it's an historical event called the Carrington event. It was the most intense geomagnetic storm in recorded history, peaking at from 1st and 2nd of September 1859. So I want you guys to notice the year here. It's 1859. This is a combination of 185. Okay? I just told you that the number to watch here is the 85 and also the 185. But notice that the year that they have this happening was 1859, which that number starts with the number 185. And I want you guys to take note that not only did that happen in 1859, which starts with 185, if you type in the event in Gematria, for those of you who are new here, it's very simple. I use the 4 base ciphers in Gematria, okay? The most basic cipher, Carrington event, equals 185, all right? Also, the phrase pitch black equals 185, and I'm going to talk more about this match that WWE has planned for January 28th coming up, okay? But I just want you to show you guys that pitch black equals 185. Again, this is what's going to happen if there's power outages. And again, I think this year is going to be a year of power outages. So, again, guys, what are the chances that the 185, and it also happened in the 1859, which starts with 185. And not only does Carrington event equal 185, it also equals 85, just like these two kickers, or these two players. All right? So, with that being said, let me kind of set the timeline here. So, back on 9/20/2021, there was a show. It's called 911, but the first episode of season 5 was called, well, it wasn't called The Blackout, but it had a blackout of LA. They released a trailer. You see LA going black with the song Paint It Black being played in the background. I've talked a lot about this. For my new subscribers, I've been talking about this on my channel almost all this last year. But I just want you guys to set this time frame. This show is a huge part of this ritual. Because again, the blackout happens in LA. Alright? So that's the first thing on the timeline. Then, after that, we had the Super Bowl last year on February 13th. And Arnold Schwarzenegger knocks out the power in his Super Bowl commercial where he's playing Zeus. Okay? And again, that Super Bowl was in LA. And LA won that Super Bowl. The next thing was Russia invaded Ukraine only 9 days after the Super Bowl. And, or should I say actually 11 days after the Super Bowl. So this ended up being a year of blackouts for Ukraine, okay? And I think that this thing with Arnold Schwarzenegger, with the Rams winning, okay, and then the power being knocked out, was predictive programming for all the blackouts that were going to happen in Ukraine. Because remember, the Rams won that, and they had the same colors as the Ukrainian flag, all right? My girlfriend lives in Ukraine, so I can attest to the fact that they've been having horrible power outages for much of 2022. And that's because Russia has been attacking their power grid, their energy plants. Next is the last episode. Remember, guys, I just told you that the 911, the show, started on September 20th, 2021, and it ended on May 16th, 2022. The last episode. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to the numbers here. The last episode of Season 5 was 18. Again, going back to the 185, okay? From the first slide that I just showed you about the Carrington event that equals 185. And that day that show ended, the last episode aired that day, there was rolling blackouts in South Africa, okay? So what are the chances that the show that starts the season with a blackout, it then goes and ends on the same day that there's a big story about rolling blackouts commencing in South Africa? And here's the article, the video, for you guys to see that it was May 16th, the same day the last episode of Season 5 of 911 aired, okay? And remember, that season started with a blackout, and then it ends on the day where there's blackouts in the news, okay? And again, going back to pitch black equals 185, just like Season 5 had 18 episodes, 185, okay? Next, I covered this a lot on my channel. Go back and watch my videos from October. There was a game between the Indianapolis Colts and the Denver Broncos. The stadium the Broncos play in is called EMP, Empower, just like an EMP attack that knocks out power. The final score of that game ended up being 12-9, which electricity equals 129, like 12-9. And during that game, a player on the Colts got knocked out. Get it? Knocked out. The lights get knocked out. And his name equaled 129, like electricity. The game ended up being 12-9. Okay? And again, the Broncos play in EMP Stadium at Mile High, just like a high-altitude EMP. Go look those up. All right? Next on the timeline, one day after Kamala Harris's birthday. Now, I'm going to bring Kamala in at the end of this, and then I'm going to tie her into my next video that's going to come out, because I believe there's either going to be blackouts or there's going to be a new president at some point, or both this year, okay? But I believe they're going to be tied together because Kamala Harris is considered to be darker skinned, and it goes with the black theme. But what's interesting, guys, is that on 10/21, one day after Kamala Harris's birthday, the movie Black Adam was released. Again, Black Adam wears the electricity lightning bolt on his chest, and he's wearing a black suit, which is very symbolic of electricity going black. Okay? And again, I'll tie this into at the end of the decode. The next on the timeline is the Los Angeles Chargers. Again, guys, the Chargers with the lightning bolts unveiled their new dark mode uniforms 3 days after Black Adam. Again, Black Lightning equals 129. Remember I told you about the Colts game earlier that month that ended 12-9. And Nyheim Hines got knocked out. He equals 129 like electricity. And then not long after that, on 10/23, Los Angeles Chargers with the lightning bolt, they unveiled their dark mode. And notice they posted on their Twitter, dark mode activated, which equals 66 like Black Lightning. Okay? But anyways, Black Lightning also equals 129 just like electricity. Next, the Philadelphia Eagles. And this is tied to Biden in Philadelphia, the Book of Revelations, the Church of Philadelphia. I've done a lot of decodes on that. But on 11/27, they unveiled their blackout uniforms in a video that shows the United States going dark. Like literally, go watch this video where it says the blackout is commencing. It literally shows the United States going black. And the phrase is, the blackout is commencing. Okay? And notice that when you type this in Google, there's two videos that come up. It's the Eagles video, and then the video from May 16th, which I told you was the last episode of the 911, the Blackout Season 5/18, like 185. Notice that that's the other video that comes up, and it uses the word commence, just like the Eagles use the word commencing. All right, I'm going to show you how that ties in a minute. Next on the timeline, there's reports of power outages when attacks on power stations in North Carolina and Washington on December 3rd. Okay? They literally were saying that our power grids were being attacked with guns. Okay? Then there was more power stations on Christmas attacked. Okay? More than 14,000 in Washington state lost power because of this. And then, again, like I started the video showing you, we had this kicker at the stroke of the new year, missing the field goal. He equals 85, just like blackout, just like pitch black. Okay? He also equals, pitch black also equals that 185. Okay? And then, later that day, remember it was Noah that missed the field goal, and then at a Noah event in Japan, the great Muta gets sprayed in the face and he goes black. Because what happens when you can't see? You go black. Okay? So again, at the beginning of the new year, you had number 85 that matches the words blackout in gematria missing. And then you had this guy getting blacked out in the eyes by a green mist. Okay? And then, last but not least, an event that hasn't happened yet. WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, has a match planned for January 28th called Pitch Black Match, which is exactly why I used the phrase pitch black at the beginning of this decode. Okay? And guess who's in the match, guys? LA Knight. Remember, I told you, in the season 911 The Blackout, in the very first episode of Season 5, there is a blackout in LA. Alright? Then we have this LA Knight, which is a reference again to LA Darkness. And then he's in a match called Pitch Black Match. Okay? I will say, another interesting thing is I found out that the hockey teams that play this night, the LA Kings of the National Hockey League, play the Tampa Bay Lightning on this same night, guys. Which again shows you that these things run parallel. What are the chances that they're having this pitch black match with a guy named LA Knight and the LA Kings play? Okay? The LA Kings logo, three-letter acronym is LAK, just like LA Knight. Alright? And they're playing the Lightning. It's such a joke. So now I want to talk about an event that happened in 2013. Alright? And again, my date that I'm thinking something could happen is January 13th, which is a Friday the 13th. Okay? But what I want you guys to notice, this happened in 2013. It was called the Harbaugh Bowl, but it was also called the Blackout Bowl. Because during the game, the Ravens and 49ers played. It was the Super Bowl, and the lights went out. Okay? So it's been known as the Blackout Bowl and the Harbaugh Bowl. And I'm going to tie us all together. So from that Super Bowl that the lights went out to January 13th, Friday, this coming month, is 9 years, 11 months, and 11 days. And if you do it the other way, it's 119 months and 11 days. Okay? Now, I want you to remember the numbers I told you to watch out for in the beginning of the decode. I said 58, 85, and 185. Notice that 49ers versus Ravens, the two teams played in that Super Bowl, equals 58 and 85. All right? The pitch black, that matches the pitch black match, okay, which equals 58. Okay? And T. Higgins is the guy who wears 85 on the Bengals who knocked out Damar Hamlin, okay? And the coach in that game back in 2013 when the lights went out was John Harbaugh, which also equals 58, just like Ravens versus 49ers who played in that game. Do you see the pattern, guys? And not to mention it's 9 years, 11 months, and 11 days. Exactly. Now, not only is it 9 years, 11 months, and 11 days, that is also, if you just count it in days, that's 3,631 days, and that is the 508th prime, guys. Drop the 0, another 58. Just like the two teams that played equaled 58, and the coach equals 58. Okay? So, again, guys, it's very interesting. And, again, this is the measurement from that Super Bowl to Friday the 13th coming up. 508th prime. See? Now, let's talk about this interesting thing, because remember I told you the Eagles posted a video where the United States was going black to promote their new uniforms that are all black. Remember, the Eagles are all about the United States. What's the bird of the United States, guys? The Eagles. Notice that the phrase the blackout is commencing equals 242. And the date I'm telling you, January 13th, equals 242. Now, let me show you how this all lines up perfectly. So, again, guys, I told you that the last episode of the 911 The Blackout show that had 18 episodes in Season 5, like 185, okay, like Pitch Black equals 185, and all the other 185s I showed you, okay, that show ended on May 16th, which was the same day there was blackouts in South Africa. From May 16th, the last episode of that season, is 242 days until January 13th. And I told you January 13th equals 242. And the Eagles, the phrase they use, the blackout is commencing, equals 242. Also, what's interesting is, remember the show was called 911 in reference to 9/11. All right? And not only is it 242 days after May 16th, the last episode of 9/11, it's 242 days before 9/11/2023. Do you see what I mean, guys? It's right in the middle of the last episode of 911 and the actual 9/11, 242, and the blackout is commencing equals 242, and the day itself, January 13th, equals 242. Now, just to go over everything, I just talked about all these subjects. Pitch black match, 58. T. Higgins, the guy who knocked out Damar Hamlin, 58. He wore the number 85. The coach who played in Super Bowl with the Whites out equals 58. Blackout equals 85. Ravens and 49ers who played in the Blackout Bowl, 58 and 85. The Great Muta who got sprayed with the green mist and went black in the beginning of the new year, 185. Carrington event, the big event back in 1859, equals 185 and 85. Hostile takeover. So this, guys, I didn't explain. The hostile takeover was happening at the same time that Damar Hamlin was getting knocked out of the game in WWE. Roman Reigns and his group in WWE, the Bloodline, were having a hostile takeover of Raw. This was happening simultaneously with Damar Hamlin being knocked out by number 85. And guess what hostile takeover equals? 85 and 185, just like Carrington event. Again, the Chargers, they're in LA, and they unveiled their uniforms, the dark mode uniforms, okay? Notice that the Chargers equals 58, 185. And it's a direct match in two ciphers to the pitch black match that's going to be happening on the 28th of January between LA Knight, and the Chargers are from LA, okay? So you guys can see all that right there. All right, and one last thing about the 185. Because remember, this is all tied to 9/11 too, with the 911 show. And remember, it's 242 days. It's right in between, and that 242 blackout is commencing, January 13th, 242. But the 185 is huge here, guys. The Carrington event equals 185.77. Friday, January 13th, which is what this date is, equals 185.77. World Trade Centers that were knocked down in the book of Revelation. Very interesting, right? And one last thing, so I lead into the next video, so you guys will want to watch, because the next video is going to tie in January 13th with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. But notice that Kamala Harris took over the vice presidency when Joe Biden had to go for under anesthesia back on November 19th, 2021. Notice that she took over the country for 85 minutes, just like it was 85 who started the year. You see what I mean, guys? The 85 kicker started the year missing a field goal. Number 85 knocked out Damar Hamlin. Okay? That's why I think if there's going to be power outages, there's also going to be a power shift as Kamala Harris, the dark person, takes over. Do you see what I mean? And from Kamala Harris's birthday and the release, or one day after her birthday, the release of Black Adam, to January 13th is 85 days. She was president for 85 minutes. It equals 242, just like the blackout is commencing, equals 242, just like January 13th equals 242. Okay? Absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, guys, I hope that wasn't too long a video. I hope you guys all understood. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.